Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got a great show tonight. We got an awesome guest tonight. You have seen this man on 28 Days Haunted. He was one of the investigators that spent 28 days in a haunted location based on Ed and Lorraine Warren's theories on what 28 days in a haunted location will do to a person. He's a fellow paranormal investigator, speaker. Please welcome my guest at this time, Aaron Thompson.
Hey, Russell. Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. I'm excited to speak with you
Oh,
about
you're
ghosts,
welcome.
right?
Yeah, definitely. Welcome to the show, and I'm glad to have you.
Appreciate that. I said before the show started, pardon my lovely animals. They'll probably be in and out, and when my co-investigator, partner in life, and talent agent comes through that door, dog's gonna flip the lid. So, pardon the moment of barking.
Okay, that's fine.
Cool.
So, tell my audience a little bit about yourselves, ones that aren't familiar with what you do, and
Yeah, Russell. Well, my name's Aaron G. Thompson, aarongthompson.com. I have been researching the afterlife since 1999. So we're at 25 years now actively. So yeah, I've been doing the beat for a long moment, and I happened to uh, achieve the right connections last few years that allowed me to do the project with the rest of the crew on 28 Days Haunted. So I'm thankful for that exposure, but we got a lot of research to do. So at the heart of it, everyone, I'm a researcher. I'm not TV talent. Just to let you guys know. But I love sharing. I love teaching. I used to be a trainer for a Fortune 500 company, um, and that's where my passion is to teach and train too. So, and I had a full scholarship in theater, so it seems like I'm tailored to do like the TV show stuff, but it's not. First and foremost, it's the ghost, the big questions there. Um, that's always been my big passion.
nice. Now, with 28 Days Haunted, how was that like spending 28 days in like a haunted location nonstop?
Exhausting, so exhausting. Awesome question, Russell. Um, the engagement was nonstop. It's funny you use that word because you know how, and you've been in the beat. We were talking
Yep.
for about 3 decades, so you know the drain or the exhaust after one night or a couple of nights. In most cases, one night of hitting the location pretty hard. You get that paranormal hangover. I believe we've unofficially called it. Um, always forget that paranormal hangover exists, and then maybe it's the love of the game. I always do. I never go in thinking, oh, I'm going to be hurting the next day. I don't. It happens every time, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing. Well, the whole time we're in the show and on site there in Connecticut, I was engaged the entire time to the location. So it's not just one day. I was literally engaged investigating for 28 days straight. Um, so when I was able to breathe and I knew that I wasn't going to be pulled in a room for an interview or investigating some obscure scenario, supernatural. When I got into that van on the way back, I was able to breathe and say relax loosely, but relax, and that allowed my paranormal hangover to kick in, and it lasted for about 6 months. I know Sean was a little bit longer than mine, and Nick was probably about the same time frame. I was out of it. Like I didn't want to be around people. There's energy vampires. So the post effect was really bizarre. Um, so while I was engaging it, it was almost normal stuff. A lot of focus, a lot of well, a lot of repeat of experiments. I mean, there's only so much we can do, and again, day and night, we're knocking this out. So, we were just on it. It really was. That's what we love doing, but it was work by all definition. Um, we were we were on it. But the post effect definitely allowed us to feel that exhaust for sure.
Right. What did it do to you guys kinda mentally being in there?
It was a mental game and less supernatural. Actually, this is like normal human stuff. Um, I got a little girl. I wasn't able to um, I was able to be around her for a month. That's huge for me. And we only really were able to speak with one another. Even the PAs, production assistants, they were unofficially, they were told to not speak with us. So we were almost like ghosts. They walk by if they were seen outside. Um, the only one that really spoke with us would be the producer themselves
Mm,
occasionally. But most of the times we're in the house alone. We had walkie talkies, radios to communicate with just producers and so forth. But yeah, psychologically, it was pretty crazy. There was a moment, I'm going to guess, because they took away all the clocks, by the way, too. So this is why I don't have it on me now, but I have like a watch that you wind up. It's an automatic watch because I got paranoid not knowing what time it was, and the show did that to me because it took away all the clocks. So I had to rely on when we were able to go outside, the sun, and uh, and I was an early bird before the show, but I couldn't tell you what time. I was waking up. I would say past noon. Um, but about 2 weeks in, I remember looking out of the back area, the greens, and just having my black coffee, sipping it, thinking to myself, am I ever really gonna leave? Or is this some weird prank that I don't have any control of? I don't know. It was bizarre. It was definitely bizarre. And I gotta say, the TV show they showed some. Um, I can't speak on behalf of the other two locations, but my location in Preston, Connecticut, with Sean Austin and Nick Simons, we that was accurate timeline wise, but mind you, there's over 2,000 hours of data that they had to gather and collect, and they presented only an hour of our spot. So they can really uh, cut it to make it action packed or go quick. And I gotta say, for chronologically, for the most part, they got our experience correct. Though it wasn't that much drama, we had moments. We
right.
resolved it. Um, but the whole Nick and Sean thing was accurate, probably in a nutshell. But again, they made amends. I mean, it was fine. Um, but yeah, it was a unique, yeah, unique experience. Overall, we were exhausted. I think exhausted is the key word. The whole exhausting project, Russell.
I can imagine, yeah, spending 28 days in a haunted location nonstop like that. I mean, I've done 2 investigations back to back, and it
Oh,
drains you.
right. And I would say that's more normal. That's not really normal, really, even. But people that are really in the beat, like you are, and myself, I live, I breathe it still every day, but in just different categories. But yeah, yeah, I've never done anything this intense. And the funny thing is, hindsight me. Oh yeah, I would do it. Netflix is asking me to do this paranormal show, first of its kind. We hit the highest numbers ever of a paranormal TV show of
Mm,
viewership. Mind you, it was the avenue of which it was on, which I'm thankful for. But it's crazy. They asked me for season two. I'll probably say hell no. Knowledge is power. Um, so I should have jumped to that. Depending um, uh, I guess situations, conversations, I would be game to do uh, season two, but I wouldn't be jumping to it like I was the first one.
Right.
Just and the exhaust is really it. Again, it goes back to the exhaust. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I would do. I love to do. I love to do that." But you gotta kind of leave your job, for a month. They don't tend to like that. Your family, your friends.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I'm not sitting in a mansion here, but I am again thankful for the exposure and all the events that I'm able to speak at and kind of, not kind of, but spread the word of the research that you are doing so hard, out there, as well as many others watching. So it's good to have opportunities with good folks that, and hopefully, I'm, you know, one of those. I always had good intent with what I do. So yeah.
Haunting Angels TM says hello.
Hey, hey, how you doing, Angel?
I know that I'm surprised they didn't let you guys try that helmet that they used in 28 Days Haunted.
Would not have used it. So okay, so I talk quantum often. I speak on ether mechanics, quantum mechanics. I've even collaborated with the leading scientists of free electricity in regards to this. I would not put bolts into my cranium with the potential to see the dead. No, nah, bro, it's gonna make you dead, and then you can see the dead,
Right.
theoretically, allegedly. So. Yeah, the funny thing was the experiment with floating um, the oh, I can't think of the name, the chamber. Um, that was actually my idea, but we just weren't able to get it when we were on filming, our segment. So they shipped it over to one of the other teams to do the isolation chamber.
Yep. Did you guys try the Estes method at all when you were investigating?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything that we can do, um, that that you could probably think of an investigator normally typically doing, we did 10 times over, because I mean, how much stuff, how many EVP sessions can we do? I mean, we'll keep it up. I mean, sure, it's all about repeating data and seeing what you can get in the story building on that. We did a lot of spirit box because that seemed to drive. It was fascinating. It seemed to drive a lot of the narrative, and I don't know if that was, well, it was not displayed as it was on site. We took photographs to attempt some spirit photography.
Mhm.
We even did psychomantium experiment, which Ed actually, I believe it was Ed who created the concept there. Basically, it's scrying, but it allows a non-focused or non-metaphysical practitioner to receive mediumship style abilities for a short time. So
Yep.
we did that, and that was pretty fantastic. I wish they didn't, or yeah, I wish they didn't admit that, but there's only so much they can put with the narrative that they were applying. Um, but we did a lot of search. There was at one point my bed was shaking. That was pretty awesome. That was wild. I was like day one or day two. We really kicked the doors down and rocked it on day one. Um, and I went to bed, and I remember my bed shaking. And mind you, cameras are on as I'm sleeping in my boxers. Um, I just wake up in the middle of the night and I think to myself, why am I shaking? Uh, I'm like, am I in a hotel room? Am I at my house? Am I like, where am I at? Like, where's my mental state right now? This is like
Right.
me just starting the project. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this weird thing for Netflix. So, so this is happening. So I think I checked under the bed. I feel like I did. It's kind of a blur sometimes, but that's common me. But then I rose my hand so the camera can see it, so they can tag when it was happening. I went right back to sleep. I'm like, Demon, rock me to bed. I'm tired. So that's how that ended. But
Was
yeah,
any of them malicious in there, or just
yes.
people?
There was a unique story, a unique narrative. It was. and it just wasn't displayed well. And we had such a good, like, tragic love story scenario going on, but seemingly there was enough applied narrative from purists and hundreds of years of applying this negative cloud into the space. So it was easy to manifest that up, unfortunately. But there seemed to be a witchy type individual, and that's just how we perceived it. Um, Entity kind of controlling the matriarch of the house, who was gentle, and again another perception. Um, so that was a antagonist um, that we kind of went to battle with at the end. And there's even a moment where I was looking in the mirror and I'm describing my face morph and change, and it was fascinating because I like to yell things out and say things right away when they're happening to me. So the other guys definitely took note and reacted, and there was a unique um, ritual that we did. Again, would have been phenomenal to see that in play. Sean and I both agree that that's a very pitiable, or very pitiable words. and making up words. Pivotal. There we go. um, uh, Moment of our experience there, and it was basically an oppression got on me, or I was being oppressed. There's a connection on me day one, and it's so fascinating how these type of scenarios work out. So I walked in day one. We, like I said, kicked the doors down. We got a lot of reaction. I suggested we all do solos in the house, so we did, just kind of one on one, see what's going on here. So when I went to do my solo, I went straight to the attic. It's creepy attic, but I had no context of the location. I went there, uh, to the attic, and I joke, this is amateur hour stuff, that I pulled. Um, I know to ground myself. I always state how I'm a walking protection spell. You got to have
Mhm.
conviction in word, and you got to have confidence in action. Um, I didn't have it because I had cameras all around, or not all around me, but I got these big cameras and these really important people watching me. I was kind of in awe still, and I just ran in there, guns ablazing, and something connected to me. And the neat thing is the instruments around me, they all reacted like an EMF burst.
Mhm.
They all react. As they reacted, I looked at the camera and I go, I'm tight. It's all tight around me. I'm super uncomfortable. I want to leave, but I'm not going to leave. Like I'm explaining this to the camera. All of a sudden, they all light up again. And then I look at the camera and I go, I'm fine. Everything's good now. I go, that was strange. Let me think about what happened. So then I stay in there for another 5, 10 minutes doing my thing. Um, but then throughout the next couple of weeks, I'm isolating myself a lot more from everyone. My thoughts are a little darker than I traditionally have, and it was all natural but all dark. And I kept going,
Right.
like, why? Why am I? What's up with this? I'm overly exhausted. I want to leave. And that's probably why you see me as cameraman often, because right at the beginning, I was active. I was go, go, go. I had some experiments to try, but then all of a sudden I got knocked out. So then cameraman was just the lackluster thing to participate with. Um, I was getting short with the guys. I was just creating narratives in my head. It was really obscure and not like me. Um, but it was something that needed to happen for me specifically, because I'm one of them that everything happens for reasons, of course, but I need to go close to the analyzation station, if that makes any sense. So I can assume, I can do all these things. I like, ones and zeros. I needed something like this to happen to me, and I'm glad it did. And I'm glad that Nick was, or not necessarily Nick. I'm glad Nick was there, but I'm glad Sean was there. It was a very unique experience. Um, yeah, I wish they would have showed it. It would have been interesting, because then they would have saw two perspectives. So Sean. Have you met Sean?
I think so, yeah.
cool guy, very enthusiastic about his focus and his practice, and absolutely, I think he should be. Um, he uh, he had holy water. um, so when he applied the holy water, it felt like it was battery acid, and that was unique. And I remember when I was repeating the St. Michael's prayer, I was cursing through the whole thing, and it was almost like I was coming out third party and laughing, and like it was real bizarre. We got it all captured too, and this is the thing that's interesting. And then right when I felt this net lift above my head, it was like it was contrast day and night. I was happy. I wasn't depressed anymore. I was ready to engage and to participate. Um, uh, yeah. So I made again note of that, and I thanked Sean, and I said, "Let's go. Let's get back to work, guys." Um, so Sean's perspective, I'm sure you probably understand what demonologist perspective of what happened went on. But my perspective, I think I have a unique take on it. With me, science minded, and I don't like to say skeptical, logical thinking. Um, so what happened to me was legit, but it goes back to the game board. And when I say the game board, I mean the house, the location. So
Mhm.
since man tends to apply these narratives and manifest, and we create our own monster scenario, I feel like that's what happened there. And I didn't play by the game board of the purists hundreds of years prior. And since I didn't play by that game board, I got bit. And and that's the quick version of what I feel happened. Was real, absolutely. Um, was it demon so and so entity? It was demon like. I can't say it was not.
Right.
Um, is it traditional demon like what we would say? Again, I feel man creates these monsters. So that's another conversation, maybe for another time. Um, but the pieces were there. The game board was there. I just didn't play the game board correctly. And
Right.
again, I got bit. So
And I'm wondering too if it was probably because you guys were trespassing too in their territory.
perhaps, perhaps the uh, the big thing is, if um, say you and two other team members go and say you're going to bring something to this specific investigation that the other two may not bring. So, but and what you're going to bring is actually going to be very important to this specific investigation. So, what's going to be good for that energy is to knock you out.
Yep.
So the other two can go on doing it, and they're doing fine. But what you were going to have and participate, and it could have just been one thing, but there's no secrets in the abyss there, in the ether. There's no secrets, no time consumption. There's just it's a very uniquely bizarre thing space. So I do feel that I was enthusiastic. I had a lot to offer, and what do? You take someone out. So
Yep.
unfortunately, I was taken out, and by the time I got my gears back into or moving, I mean we were already in a different steam forward. It would have been inappropriate for me to start putting seeds in, midway through. That was more valuable if we just focus on the seeds that were already growing.
Right. It was probably showing you what it can do. They probably saw you as an easier target than your other two that were with you.
My armor was chinked. Yeah, it saw a way to get through. Um, so I will say that's true. Um, but Yeah, it was interesting because I had a lot of ideas, and I was already pushing. It's actually funny because you can see this in the. So sure, they cut a lot of my speech because I contradicted a lot of what I think the narrative that they're going for in
Mhm.
the show. So a lot of mine was cut, which was fine, and the cry was That was a very strategic edit, by the way, but nonetheless, production. But the you like right away when we go into the house, you see me talking and pointing to this map. Like right away, I'm noticing the wallpaper looks like an old-fashioned map, and yeah, I pretty much I mean it's this giant map. I let the guys know that we're sitting on a map. So I mean I'm pulling out these trinkets instantly. Um,
Mhm.
and even taking lead right away and having everyone do the exercises that I put forward. Again, I didn't check myself, and that was me getting too excited. The
Right.
love of the game.
Yeah, it is. Especially one piece of evidence that's legit and substantial. You get excited when it comes to that. I know I
Absolutely.
still do when I find something.
Yeah, even if funny, even EVP, like EVP still excite me. Uh, I, I don't do a lot of sessions actively. I catch a
Right.
lot of EVP passive with whatever I'm recording with. But occasionally I do EVP sessions actively. But yeah, EVP, they're still exciting.
I normally catch them like, if we're in a house and we're talking to a client and interviewing them, we'll have a recorder running. We
Oh
usually
yeah,
some EVPs doing that as well.
I found out when I was doing a lot of YouTube stuff and just random ghost hunting, spirit box YouTube stuff. Like our audio on the camera or whatever, we would pick up often EVP.
Thanks, Tracy Rizzo. She said, "Hi, guys. I'm moderating an investigation live, but I shared out the show as well. Have a great night, and I will watch."
Nice.
And then Ed Fry says, "Sorry I'm late. I know him. He works with me. He's actually
Ed,
just
you're always
retired."
on. Ed, you're on time. You're never late. So this is it. But he's retired.
Yeah, he's a retired school teacher.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Ed, for your service in the industry of education. And it's funny. So yeah, there actually was a historian that was cut from our segment
Mhm.
that really put the educational spin on the show, and that was actually my selling point of doing the show. I mind you, I would have probably done it no matter what, but that was the big kicker that I like. So I was kind of bummed that they removed that. I guess it wasn't scary enough, but the education fact, this paranormal weird stuff is actually connecting to actual historical data. That's
Right.
phenomenal. I really, again, wish they would have left that in, but that's okay.
Yeah, they
That
should
is,
have. 'Cause, I mean, that then it adds up and it makes it legit that if it's following the historical value of it.
yeah, but you got to think that the producers, they're phenomenal storytellers, right? They're not investigators. They're not. They probably don't even believe, at least in ghosts and ghouls and goblins. Um, Ghosts. But yeah, yeah, it's too
Except for
bad, but
Tony
that's
that was
okay.
on the show with him and Dan, they believe.
What was that?
Tony and Dan, I know they believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking about the producers of the show. They're the storytellers, but no doubt, no doubt, Tony and Dan do for sure.
I'm getting ready to go to an
Everyone.
event with them. We got
Bet
an
you're
event.
gonna get it. Oh, nice, very
Yeah,
cool.
we're doing Missouri State Penitentiary with them and Get Haunted.
Okay, nice. Are you gonna make it down to in October? I'm doing a thing over at the Haunted YMCA, or I guess they renamed it. It's the Haunted Roadhouse, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we're about.
Rock Island, Illinois. It's a it's
Huh?
a it's a diamond. It's a diamond mine. It really is one of those places. And mind you, I'm a little bit of distance from it now, but I still go back often. My family's right around there.
I
Um,
think Ghost Hunting Housewives told me about that one.
Probably there's been a lot of people through that location now. It's such a bizarre and active um, place. So it's interesting. And I accidentally fell I fell upon it random style in
Mm.
2017, and I've been pretty much there ever since. Good friends with the owner.
Yeah, you should come out to Missouri and do some. We got a lot of history out
I
here as well.
been out to Missouri quite a bit. I'm supposed to be out to Kansas City, Missouri, a couple of weeks ago, but a few obligations that I wasn't able to make it out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, near Chicago now, but before I was on the Iowa of Illinois, or excuse me, the border of Iowa and Illinois.
Yeah, we're like 3 hours south of Iowa
Yeah, yeah. I knew.
and about an
Yeah,
hour from AC.
Missouri does have some pretty sweet places.
Yeah, we've done quite a few out here between the battlefields, and then you got Missouri State. St. Joe, Missouri's got a lot of haunted stuff out there.
Right.
You got Glore Psychiatric, the Beatty Mansions in St. Joe, Tootle
Yeah, no,
Mansion,
BD Mansion. Yeah,
and then
nice.
we've got the Hans Mill Massacre site out here in Missouri.
I know Alton is right on the border, Alton, Illinois. But
Mhm.
have you gone out there?
Yeah, we've been out there. We actually
It's
got a case out that way, a residential case we got to go do.
Oh, very cool, very cool.
Yeah, we get called all over. We travel, so we don't just stay in Missouri. We go all over the place.
Nice. What's the furthest location you've been?
Furthest so far was Ohio.
Nice, very
Did a
cool.
private residence out in Ohio.
That's huge.
We got to
The
go back
big
there
distance.
and do a antique store in Ohio too, as well.
Oh, fun. An antique store, that just for fun, or is that an
The
actual?
guy wants us to come in and check it out. It's one of the most haunted in Ohio, one of the top three. I guess
Okay,
he's had
okay.
4 mediums in there on the fourth floor, and they all ran out after 10 minutes crying.
Mm,
So
Yikes.
we
Guys, is
when
it a
we were out there,
as
and he asked me about he pulled me on the side. He saw my shirt, and knew I was a paranormal researcher, and he was
right,
like,
right?
asked me to help move a table. He's like, "Can you help me move this desk over there?" And he says, "The reason why I called you over there, I wanted to see if you guys be interested in investigating my store. One of the top 3 haunted places in Ohio, and I had psychics in there, and they ran out of here after 10 minutes screaming." I said, "Yeah, we'd
Huh,
be willing to check it out, but we get so
oh,
busy with Paracons."
right. Yeah, the Paracons are funny. So I do, yeah, a lot of the Paracons, and it's an honor to speak at these locations. Um, but I've been kind of cutting back, or at least I will be cutting back on Paracons. Um, Probably moving forward indefinitely. Just in the fact, I want to get more in the lab and more experiments. I have a few things that I need to do with the research, and it's so time consuming. Yeah, sure, I need money for it too, right? But at the same time, um, time is the greatest currency, and it's time consuming. So,
Yeah,
but
we do.
yeah,
I do a lot of guest speaking as well at Paracons and stuff like that. Talk
very
about
cool.
residential and the demonic stuff that we deal with and equipment research.
Now you don't say EVPs, do you? You just say EVP because phenomena and phenomenon, they don't have an S on the end of it. I'm
Yep,
such a nerd. I'm always like, it's actually not EVPs.
right.
Nick harasses me. Though, if you notice, I believe he says on the uh, 28 Days Haunted, I believe he uses it correctly, EVP, because he knew I would have razzed him if he didn't.
Yeah, I think I do remember him saying
Yeah,
EVP.
yeah. Yeah, just as EVP. I'm like, okay. I go, we're not hunting the Beatles, who are phenomenons. Hunting, uh, you know.
You said
But
you've
yeah,
done some residential cases in the past?
Yeah, that's where I started off on residential all through the 2000s. And I always took first, I say 10 years, first 7-ish years, I um, went to these locations with traditional skeptics, people that didn't really necessarily believe, but that wasn't my goal to convince them or to convince myself. I just wanted to get good data.
Right.
So I would bring a plumber, an IT guy, different, not the same time, but just different times. I'd experiment with test groups in a sense with mediums to see the value in that. So I'm just really testing value. I'm learning stuff from these experts, the subject matter experts on site. And I'm doing this for myself and for growth because I don't want to be a loon. At the end of the day, I'm serious
Right.
about this, but let's make sure I'm serious in the right direction. And it was nice, but about 2010, I wanted to kind of get a group, get a team that can grow with each other, and that's it. Nick and I's been together ever since. We had a couple moments of separation, but for the most part, I would say we were together the whole time. Um, so yeah, he was one of my first applicant, I think, on the team. Um, he's a good guy. He's definitely a good investigator. I saw that day one. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry. I did a lot of houses. Then houses had too much of an overhead for me, though. I'm kind of more on the experimental side of things. A lot of people don't like you making bombs inside their house, basically, and with some of the weird stuff I do to Hungos. Um, so I do a lot of commercial properties. I befriend folks who have um, locations that are willing to have me just kind of hit data logs in there and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I am. So I haven't done any residential 15 years, except for recently. I told you before we went live, I actually took my first residential. I only said I'll take residentials if you're upside down on the ceiling spitting out pea soup. I'll look at it. So this one was kind of maybe the pea soup one. It's still pending. Um, right now, there seems to be a lot of anxiety um, in the overall case. So I'm just kind of gauging how human to supernatural that may or may not be. So
Do you
no,
think your
no,
client
no.
may be diagnosed schizophrenic also?
Sure. I mean, I'm not uh, licensed, I guess, to give that analysis, but I mean, there's possibilities. I go in as about human base, um, and I suggest people see people that are experts if there are if it's something that could be schizophrenia, um, which would be quite an assumption and quite a diagnosis too. But man, there's other things like this individual keeps her ear keeps ringing and it's really loud. It's so much so
Mhm.
it almost in the element of pain. Well, being in the world for as long as the ringing in the ears could very well be supernatural, depending on the context,
Right.
allegedly or potentially. Um, Also, it could be, if it's frequent, it could be an ear infection of some sort or something that's bigger, deeper, maybe to the brain. So, I mean, there could be other stuff. Again, I'm not qualified to do that. I could just say, oh, it doesn't sound supernatural, but it sounds like it
Right.
could be physical. See an eye doctor or an ear doctor or whatever. But yeah, and she's a sweet uh, client. Um, yeah, we're just kind of seeing where things go. So far, it's been quiet. So it seems like we did our job and it worked. I'll follow up with her probably on Sunday, see if everything's still cool. We'll take it from there.
Yeah, we deal with a lot of people that are either history of drugs, mental illness, and a lot of that stuff is perfect hotbed for your darker activity.
It is. It is.
So
When I got,
go ahead.
no, I was about to say when I got in years ago, one of the first things I read somewhere is if you know this is more of a if you have mental illness of any sort, don't do this because it's a very it illustrates that it doesn't do anything good for you. So I'm surprised when I see investigators that do have. I mean, I have ADD, but I think it's a superpower doing what we do.
Right.
Um, the but if I was schizophrenic, if I had something that would log my understanding of this, I would have backed out.
Mhm.
So I'm surprised that so many people, uh, not so many people, not like there's a lot, but I have crossed people that have these bigger anxieties and illnesses, and they do this. Like, I'm not sure if that's doing you justice, but I'm not. I can
Right.
only do me. I can only control my box, right?
Right. And I mean, yeah, I mean, they don't know what they're getting themselves into with a lot of it.
Guess who's home?
Yep. And, I mean, like I said, we deal with a lot of it, and that's one of our first questions too when we're interviewing a client: medications, mental illness, drug or alcohol abuse, stuff like that. So we know what we're walking into, what to expect, especially if they're schizophrenic.
Right, right. Yeah, it's hats off to you. It's quite a movement forward.
And we work with a lot of people that where if we can't help them, we can get them the help they need.
Good, good.
So I work with demonologists. I work with Farrah Rose Deal, who's a 40 plus demonologist. She's kind of my mentor in the demonology part of it.
Okay.
But anything goes haywire, I just call her and she takes it from there.
Right,
She deals with all the exorcisms and all that.
right.
And we've came across one lady that was possessed. Not to the point that she was vomiting pea soup, but we actually watched an upside down cross get scratched in the side of her neck while we're standing
Okay.
there talking to her, and she wasn't even
Wow,
self-inflicting it.
wow. That's wild. And
Yeah,
the funny thing is, see, like documenting this stuff is such a tough like procedure of ours because we have to document, but at the same time, the big stuff, I kid you not, and you probably know this, it always happens when the camera's not rolling
yep,
and it goes into the ether where things are meant to happen the way they're happening, and some of the stuff can just dodge this bigger picture
right.
media world. But yeah, it's slightly frustrating because it's like, oh, wouldn't have been nice to like see that and to study it and be like, zoom up on it and just look at it in slow motion. Like that's fascinating to me.
Especially when we went there and to interview her and she was filling out our paperwork, and it was like something was controlling her hand on writing.
Hmm.
And I looked at it, and the whole paperwork's just all kind of like scribbles.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
the day of the investigation is when it really went crazy, and that's when that whole thing happened, and eyes rolled in the back of her head. Didn't know where she was for a few minutes. Kept saying, "It's mine. I don't want it to go."
Hmm. Yeah.
But she's
Crazy.
she's normal now. We It took a matter of about 6 months to get that case wrapped up, and we're like family now. She invites us over for dinner, everything.
Good. Well, good work. Sounds like.
Yeah, we were able to help her, and I was actually glad because that one was going south quick.
Right.
She
Right.
wanted she hated her husband, and her husband didn't do anything wrong. He's a paramedic and a firefighter.
Hmm.
So he's gone most of the time working, and she just hated him for some reason.
Yeah. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre mindset shift.
Yep.
It's like your own thoughts, but they're not, and it can get confusing if you're not. Well, yeah. it can get confusing. I say if you're not trained, but how do you even train for that? I mean, I knew I knew things were odd when similar scenarios were happening to me, but they still felt very natural. you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and I mean, we worked another case where a guy, his girlfriend sent us a video, and he was sitting there in the chair, blank stare, and he was kind of just rambling. And girlfriend says something to him, and he goes, "Shh," or he'd punch himself in the face.
With Sean when we were on site, um, I'm the one who told him to get the holy water, um, because I knew nothing was wrong with me, and one of these guys that quit looking at me weird and saying, been acting different. So I'm like, just get the water, throw it on me, and we can move on with the night. We're all tired. That was exactly my
Right.
rhythm, but I still had the fortitude to at least elicit the big guns there for the most part. So yeah,
And then
it would have been. Was
you find
that?
people faking it for attention too. We helped another team, our good friends Raven's Eye Paranormal, on a case, and
I've heard of
they
them.
they were there the first time, and they got rid of it, and they thought it'd come back because they got a phone call that she was acting out again, and so she's like, "I'm gonna bring in the bigger guns for help." So they
Right.
called in, and she was fine when we got there. She gave all of us hugs, said hello, and then all of a sudden it was just like switch flipped, and she started getting a blank stare, started growling.
Hmm.
So she would try to reach out to grab my dad by the arm. She would growl at me, growl at Raven's Eye, and then I'd stand in front of her and I showed her my Saint Benedict medal, which has been blessed by the Vatican. And she didn't even react to it. So I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of faking going on here. 'Cause she should have reacted to that if she was possessed. And then
Yeah. Well.
we did a cleansing on her, and we put a big Saint Benedict medal on her, right on her shoulder.
Right.
Didn't She didn't even react to it. And her cat got up there and started rubbing against her and licking her face. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "You might as well just give it up. You're faking it." And she finally come clean and admitted she faked it to scare her older sister.
So weird. So bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird too because the older sister had been playing with the tarot cards and stuff like that, and
Right.
so my dad asked him, you ever see the devil before?" And they said no. So Julie from Raven's Eye, she does tarot readings. So she took the tarot cards, she shuffled them out. Guess what card she pulls?
Devil.
Yep, along with the Hangman and Judgment,
There you
because they
go.
were all stuck together. So that's
Fascinating.
we did kind of like sometimes you got to do psychological on them too. We did on her where we I was calling the demonologist, my friend Farah. I said she's going to come with a priest. Well, I went outside that door and I stood by the door so she could hear every word I'm saying, and I put Farrah on speakerphone, and we just kind of Farrah played along with it, and she just stared at the door, kind of like my goose is cooked. I better just come clean with it. And it was just her scaring her sister because she was afraid her sister was going to beat her up like the other sister used to.
Well,
So
bless
she
you.
and she was only 12,
Okay. Okay.
so we just made him took mom her in there, and we made her tell her mom what she did, and she came clean, and then we brought the other sister in there, and we made them talk it out. They all hugged, and now they're good. They go to they all go to church and everything, and
Good.
So a lot of stuff we find in cases is either has a lot of psychological or it has something to do with maybe sexual molestation, stuff like that.
Yikes.
Find you find a lot of that
Yeah.
resident.
The residential's an interesting.
What are some of the other famous places you've done throughout the
Oh,
U.S.?
oh, I mean, Bliska Axe Murder House in Melbourne. I mean, they're right next to each other. Did Edinburgh Manor. Um, I mean, the list. Been all the way to the East Coast and West Coast. And
Oh, nice.
sometimes I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know the official name when I go into the place. Um, uh, I need to be more south. What am I doing more south? Um, like beyond Arkansas. Even I did Arkansas dog patch up there, USA. Um, yeah, I've done quite a few.
You go to Waverly yet?
Yeah. No. Well, I'm sorry. No. I have not. Where Waverly is not one that I've done yet. Heard it's
I'll tell
big.
you, if you go there, you'll enjoy it.
That's what I heard. My girlfriend wants to go there. Um, so we'll definitely get back there for sure.
I'll keep you posted. We may go out there in near future here. We're talking about it because my friend Julie has never been there, so we're possibly talking about maybe next year.
Yeah, keep me informed. See what we got going on for sure.
Yeah, we're talking about possibly doing 2 nights because you we did one night out there and you can only investigate till 4 a.m. So you can't cover
Okay.
that whole place.
As long
But
as
now
it's not 28 nights.
but now I see they actually opened a bunkhouse again at Waverly, so you can actually stay there now.
I did hear that actually recently. I just did an event in West Virginia, actually a couple weeks ago, or end of last month. Super cool location, haunted hotel, and there's a lot of talk about Waverly around there. So someone mentioned the bunkhouse was put in. Like, oh, I didn't know they didn't have it.
Hey, we got some pretty good evidence out of Waverly. I saw the creeper of Waverly Hills,
Creeper, right? I hear a lot
and
about the creeper.
they say the theory is they think with him he was a guy there that was in a wheelchair. He was paralyzed from the waist down, and he would go down to the maintenance by the loading docks to get his wheelchair oiled every week. Well, he went down there, nobody was down there, and I guess he actually went off the loading dock and face planted onto the pavement down below
Ooh,
and killed him. So they think he may be possibly the creeper because he was paralyzed, so all he could do was crawl.
huh,
And
creepy.
the body shoot's intense. When you get down to the body chute down there to the bottom,
I can imagine.
that's when the paranormal stuff starts kind of happening. You'll hear the gate up top slamming, and we got a picture of a black mask filling up the whole body chute coming down at us. And you can see
Oof.
in each individual picture, it's at the top and then just keeps working its way down.
Wow.
And then I did a little experiment in the surgery room on the fourth floor where I laid on the surgery table,
Okay.
had a member wheel me under the light, and I was playing like I was sick, like coughing. And my one member was yelling, "We need a doctor in here. Someone needs to help him."
Hmm.
And we had a motion light sitting on the shelf, and the motion light kicked on. And I went to sit up, and I couldn't move. It was like something was restraining me to the table.
Interesting.
And then we heard two loud female screams from the hallway.
Wow. All in Waverly.
Yep, all in Waverly. And we were with another team, and they had females with them. So my initial thing, see where that other team's at, make sure it wasn't one of them screaming that they got scared or something. They were on the 5th floor, opposite side of the building, out on the roof doing an Estes method.
Hmm.
So it wasn't any of them, and these 2 screams were right outside the door.
Wow.
First floor, we had K2s going crazy in their millimeter with REM pod. They were actually coinciding in sync with each other going off. And
That's
we did a
that's
spirit box session down there, and we had a skeptic with us. We let him ask questions. And that our tour guide said that man does not like people. We got cussed at through the whole night down there.
yeah. Seems like I
So
always pick up vulgar. I always get vulgar sayings when I go to a place. Like, come on, guys, can we at least? I used to work at Disney, years ago. Let's keep it clean.
did you get any
No.
of them on 28 Days Haunted?
Um, 20 Days Haunted was less vulgar. Actually, it was funny. We got on the Ovilus that, or an Ovilus-like system. I don't think it was an official Ovilus, but it actually said, "Aaron, watch out for the incubus,"
Hmm,
and it spelled it out. And Sean was one manning it, and he kind of laughed. We got some. I don't think we got anything too vulgar, honestly. It was, um, I don't want to say clean. I can't remember a lot of it. So it was so bizarre. I After we filmed it was over a year since we did it before it was released to the public. So I was questioning if it was even going to be out. I couldn't talk about it. No one could talk about it.
right.
And I admit I forgot everything that happened on that. Like everything was gone
Mm,
out of my brain. And Nick couldn't remember a thing. I'm pretty sure Nick couldn't remember anything. But for me, I could not remember anything until the trailer came out. And then the trailer came out, and I'm just like, oh, okay, all right,
right.
starting to remember things. So,
I
yeah,
really hope they greenlight it for a 2nd season.
what was that?
I hope they do greenlight it for a 2nd season.
Well, if the thing is, um, if the crowds of people ask for it, there's a good chance that it could happen. Um, but with I guess the numbers, not necessarily the numbers of how many people viewed, but how many minutes people viewed when they started viewing, it wasn't as uh, great as Netflix wanted it to be. So it's right on the cuff as if we'll get season two or not. And I actually spoke with the producer, like the president of the company who made the show, just a couple of weeks ago, and it doesn't look great, but it's not completely a no.
Okay.
Um, it's up to people kind of pushing it. I try to do some campaigns sometimes. I couldn't get the rest of the crew behind me, unfortunately. Uh, Actors, am I right? No, kidding. Not. But, but
You
no,
know,
people are
I've been
busy.
sharing it.
What was that?
I've been sharing it on my group page.
Hell yeah, appreciate it. Man. Appreciate it. That was that was a thumbs up from the president that I was doing that, but it's too bad the other guys didn't get behind that. Um, but that's okay. That
I
is
wanna
okay.
I wanna keep my family's theory alive, and because they never
You
got
know,
to that theory,
yeah,
so
yeah. The for and for me with other projects, hopefully there's other opportunities that come by. But my big focus again, as I told you earlier on, is a lot more of the research, even less. Probably less public appearances throughout the next few years. We'll see. I love talking. I love speaking. Don't get me wrong. It takes time. Um, Got to add time and value. What's that? you know, what is
What are
that?
some of the events you got coming up?
Oh, I'm doing man, you put me on the spot here. If girlfriend slash talent agent, so the room I could holler at her. AaronGThompson.com. It'll have all my spots. I'll actually update it here soon. October is looking like it's getting full. Have one coming in August. We had one in June, but it was canceled, unfortunately, just recently. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's, next year, hopefully there'll be something with that. Um, I don't think I have anything in July and nothing post October. I had a few people talk to me about some things, but I haven't bid on anything. Um, being kind of picky, I'm getting more and more picky. The more, again, I love speaking about this, but I just gotta see. So busy my day to day with the ghost hunting and the research, and as well as my little girl and my life and um, you know, life stuff. Yeah,
Well, we're coming
vacation.
the hour, the end of the show. There's another show after me. I thank you for joining me tonight,
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Really do. Thank you.
and we'll definitely I'll get you back on again. We'll
Cool.
talk a bit more about some of the demonic stuff and some of your experiments. And
Awesome.
if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you if they want to book you for public speaking events or
Um, Kat Grace, contact her for that, but also make it easier. You can go to www.aarongthompson.com. I'll have all my links, all the stuff.
all right, that's good. Thank you for joining me tonight. Everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week.